Welcome back. Today we're doing an explainer on one of the most exclusive, mysterious rooms in ancient history. We're stepping inside to uncover a golden artifact known as the mercy seat. It's not just a piece of ancient furniture, it's literally the key to understanding how ultimate justice and absolute mercy can actually coexist. Let's get right into it.
Picture this for a second. You walk into a completely silent, windowless room. No sunlight is allowed in at all. But as your eyes adjust, you realize the walls are literally shimmering with pure gold, and there are these towering golden cherubims stretching their wings out. You'd be standing in the holiest place on earth. But the real mystery of this ancient tabernacle? It wasn't the insane amount of gold. It was this one specific object that served as the literal, physical meeting place between heaven and earth.
Right in the absolute center of this sacred room sat the Ark of the Covenant. Think of it as a meticulously crafted chest made from acacia wood, which, fun fact, was famous back then for being pretty much indestructible and completely rot-resistant. Then, they overlaid the whole thing in pure gold. And none of this was guesswork. Every single measurement, every material, it was all built exactly to the blueprints God gave Moses up on Mount Sinai.
So what's actually inside this golden chest? 3 incredibly sacred items. You've got the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments, Aaron's rod that miraculously sprouted buds, and a golden jar filled with manna from heaven. But, and here's the kicker, these weren't just cool museum artifacts. They were actually undeniable proof of humanity's constant messing up. The tablets, broken laws. The manna, constant complaining in the desert. Aaron's rod, straight-up rebellion against authority. The contents of this box were essentially Exhibit A, B, and C, testifying against human rebellion.
And that sets up a massive cosmic problem, right? On one side, you have all this human sin and rebellion perfectly represented by the items inside the ark. But on the other side, you have God's absolute holiness and perfect justice. If perfect justice looks directly at undeniable guilt, well, devastating judgment is the only logical outcome. You literally cannot put those two things in the same room without a catastrophic collision.
Enter the mercy seat. Sitting directly between God's holy presence and humanity's guilt was this profoundly important object. It was a solid slab of pure gold. We're talking hundreds of pounds of solid gold here, resting right on top of the ark like a cover. With those golden cherubim standing guard on either end, it might have just looked like a really fancy lid for a box. But actually, scratch that, it was without a doubt the single most crucial component in the entire sanctuary.
God made this completely astonishing promise to Moses about this exact piece of gold. He said, "There I will meet with you." I want you to notice the wild precision there. He didn't say, "I'll meet you inside the ark," where all the symbols of sin were kept. He didn't say, "I'll meet you next to it." He specifically chose the space just above the mercy seat. This was the designated earthly zip code where God's presence would uniquely manifest.
And this brilliantly shows us the spiritual science at work. Once a year, on the Day of Atonement, the high priest would go through this incredibly perilous ritual. It was so dangerous, tradition actually says they'd tie a rope around his ankle just in case he dropped dead in God's presence and they had to drag him out. He'd enter the most holy place carrying sacrificial blood and sprinkle it right onto the mercy seat. By doing this, the sins of the entire nation were covered. Justice was satisfied, so mercy could be safely extended. Now here's a crucial takeaway. A lot of people think mercy is just God ignoring justice. No way. Perfect justice absolutely demands that sin is judged, while perfect mercy really desires to save the sinner. They sound like complete opposites, don't they? But they aren't. They meet perfectly at the mercy seat through the vehicle of sacrifice. Mercy doesn't bypass justice, it satisfies it. That is the real spiritual science of redemption.
Honestly, this completely shatters that old, tired myth of the harsh, vindictive Old Testament God. You know the one, where God in the Old Testament is just angry and judgmental, and Jesus in the New Testament is the nice one. The mercy seat proves that is totally false. Long before Jesus was born, God had already engineered this throne of grace. His ultimate goal was always reconciliation. For God, justice and mercy aren't fighting each other. They've always existed in perfect, beautiful harmony.
Fast forward a few centuries, and this ancient golden mystery reaches its ultimate climax. The Apostle Paul, when he's writing about Jesus, uses a very specific Greek word to describe him as a sacrifice of atonement. And get this, that specific Greek word carries the exact same meaning as the earthly mercy seat. Mind-blowing, right? Paul is literally revealing that Jesus Christ himself is the true prophetic mercy seat. He is the living place where justice and mercy finally meet.
So that earthly box made of gold and wood,
It was always just a shadow pointing to something infinitely better. Under the Old Covenant, the blood of animals was basically a band-aid. It could only cover sin temporarily, kind of like an annual subscription you had to keep renewing. But under the New Covenant, the blood of Christ doesn't just cover sin for a year. It completely, permanently removes it forever. The shadow finally gave way to the real thing.
Now remember those towering golden cherubim on the lid? Whenever you see cherubim in Scripture, they're guarding God's holiness, like the ones placed at the entrance to Eden. Their posture over the ark is a massive reminder that God's absolute holiness hasn't dropped one bit. Access to Him isn't casual. Grace doesn't just toss out God's righteous standards. Instead, God made a way for guilty people to approach Him because Jesus perfectly fulfilled every single demand of that justice.
The ultimate mic drop moment for this happened the exact second Jesus died on the cross. Historical accounts tell us that the veil in the temple, this massive curtain that was famously inches thick and literally impossible for humans to rip, was miraculously torn straight down the middle, from top to bottom. That was God's undeniable signal to the world. The earthly mercy seat had done its job, and the barrier to His presence was permanently demolished.
Because that veil was torn, we have some absolutely unbelievable privileges today. The meeting place between God and humanity is no longer a golden box hidden away in some dark, terrifying sanctuary. It's the living Christ. Think about it. We have direct access to the Creator of the universe. It's not limited to one elite priest, it's not locked down to one day a year, and it is 100% available to every single believer through faith.
Yet, even with all of this done for us, people still run themselves ragged trying to find peace with God through all these false paths. Maybe it's trying to rack up good works, repeating endless religious rituals, relying on personal achievements, or just trying to be a better person. But if the spiritual science of the mercy seat teaches us anything, it's that forgiveness is never cheap, and it is absolutely never earned by our own sweaty human effort.
True peace is only found in God's provision, period. You don't achieve it, you just receive it. Jesus Christ is our high priest, He's our ultimate sacrifice, and He is our true mercy seat. He's the one place where grace is freely handed out, where justice is entirely satisfied, and where humanity is welcomed right back into the very presence of God. His holiness and His love aren't fighting each other, they embrace perfectly at the cross.
So, the ultimate secret of the mercy seat was never actually the pure gold it was made of. It was always the perfect God who provided it, a God whose mercy was designed from day one to be vastly greater than your deepest failures. Which leaves us with one pretty critical question to ponder. How are you going to respond to this incredible mercy that's freely available to you right now? Think on that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.